After 20 years of dreams, her incredible love story unexpectedly took a life-changing turn. Sarah had grown accustomed to the rhythm of life in her small Midwestern town. The smell of bacon frying wafted through the air as early morning light flickered through the diner's windows. She wiped the sweat from her brow, flipping pancakes just the way her grandmother had taught her. The diner, a hub of laughter and gossip, had stood for generations, a backdrop to meals shared and memories made. Yet, for all the warmth that surrounded her and her two spirited children, she felt the crushing weight of responsibilities pressing against her chest. Every morning was a whirlwind of feeding her kids, tending to the diner, and juggling bills that seemed to multiply like weeds. Still, every once in a while, her heart ached for the dreams she had shelved away, the dreams of love, companionship, and the hope that one day she could write her own story. Life had led her away from the man who once made her heart race, Jake, the high school sweetheart who had left behind a chapter of joy but also heartache when he went off to serve in the military. Then, one fateful day, the town buzzed with excitement about Jake's return. As he stepped back onto familiar soil, Sarah felt her heart leap. Memories flooded her, their laughter, their touch, the plans they had made. This wasn't just a reunion, it was the chance to reclaim the love they had both lost. Yet, moments of joy often hid the clouds of reality, and shadows of his past and hers quickly loomed large. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as the first sparks of romance flickered back to life, Sarah faced a monumental threat. The diner's finances were spiraling, and whispers began to circulate. Could she really manage the family legacy? The judgmental glances from longtime community members felt like barbs against her skin. Was she strong enough to weather the storm? What would happen to her kids if the diner were to close? Jake, too, was wrestling with his own battles. As she leaned on him for support, he battled with the shadows of PTSD, struggling to show her the tender heart that lay below his tough exterior. Their journey toward healing suddenly felt heavy. Their shared happiness still lingered like the aroma of the diner, but beneath it all was a fear that threatened to unravel them both. But then hope emerged from the ashes of despair, a new community initiative meant to revive small businesses. As Sarah rallied her neighbors, speaking with fierce determination, she could see the flickers of change in their eyes. She presented her vision, her voice quivering but resolute. Together, we can build something that lasts. The room buzzed with anticipation. Was this the turning point? As emotions surged and connections reignited among neighbors, Sarah steadied herself. The town faced a critical choice, one that had the power to cement their legacy but also divide them further. With Jake in tow, facing their shared pain and dreams, they stood at the precipice of hope and uncertainty. Would she find the strength to mend the past, not just for herself and her children, but for the entire community? The question hung in the air, as vibrant as the pie cooling on the windowsill, sweet yet tinged with uncertainty. And as heartbreak and love weaved their way through the diner, Sarah knew one thing for sure: this was only the beginning. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden glow across the diner as Sarah stood at the counter, visibly shaken yet resolute. The chatter around her faded as doubt gnawed at her gut like a hungry animal. The meeting had sparked something inside her, but reality loomed heavy. Could she really lead this initiative? Was she capable of rallying her community to stand together? The heat from the grill flickered behind her, a constant reminder of the life she had built but now seemed ready to crumble. Jake entered the diner, the jangle of the door's bell signaling a shift in the atmosphere. He caught her eye, and that familiar spark ignited, momentarily pulling her from the depths of her worries. She watched him approach, his face a blend of determination and vulnerability. "Hey," he said softly, his gaze searching hers. "You did great back there." His words warmed her heart. "I'm just scared, Jake. What if they don't come together?" What if I fail? He leaned closer, his voice low and steady. You've already taken the first step. And you're not alone in this. We'll do it together. The notion of togetherness tugged at her heartstrings. It was in those moments she could see the old Jake, the one who had shared dreams and laughter, now grappling with shadows. She wondered if they could both break through their pasts, if they could build a future despite their fears. Together, she echoed, the word a lifeline. I need you by my side. He nodded, reassured by the connection they shared. Yet within the warmth, a flicker of concern lingered. The diner didn't just mean survival, it represented the heart of their community. She needed to prove herself a worthy steward, but could she balance her personal and communal obligations while navigating the treacherous waters that lay ahead? As the diner began to empty, her thoughts swirled. She cleaned tables, her mind racing on how to approach the first town meeting. It felt monumental. Would the townsfolk embrace her vision, or would they doubt her? Sarah, Jake's voice pulled her from her reverie. He gestured outside. Look. She stepped outside, the cool evening air wrapping around her like a blanket. Neighbors were gathering on their porches, sharing whispered conversations about the diner's impending revival. She felt a flicker of hope, a sense of community gathering just on the fringes. Maybe they're ready to fight for it, Jake said, his tone lightening. They want to believe, Sarah said, her heart fluttering. It's us who needs to show them it's possible. As the sun set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Sarah knew she needed to act quickly. They could host rallies, cook-off events to raise funds, or even a night of story sharing at the diner. Each idea ignited a passion within her. Let us do it, she exclaimed, energized by newfound purpose. With Jake's supportive gaze at her side, they walked back into the heart of the diner, where warmth still emanated from the stove. But underneath the surface, she could feel a storm brewing. Would their efforts bring the community together, or would old wounds resurface, tearing them all apart? As they planned their next moves, one looming question remained in her mind: what if their dreams of revival ignited not just hope, but also the pasts they thought they could leave behind? The night was just beginning, and shadows danced on the walls, hinting at battles both personal and communal yet to come. The diner was alive again, but it felt different. The clinking of coffee cups and the hum of conversations wrapped around Sarah like an old coat. She stood at the counter, her eyes surveying the room. From the back corner, a familiar face caught her attention. Mrs. Milner, an elderly woman who had seen the diner transform from a bustling hub into a mere shell of its former self, was sitting at her usual spot. Her expression was bittersweet, a mix of nostalgia and hope. Hey, Mrs. Milner. Sarah approached with a genuine smile. It's good to see you. The old woman looked up, her eyes shimmering. You know, Sarah, this place has seen a lot of love over the years. It's good to see someone ready to fight for it. It won't just be me, I promise. We're hoping to start community events soon, Sarah replied, feeling a glimmer of confidence. Mrs. Milner's smile widened. I'd love to share some stories about the old days. We had quite a few shindigs here. Perfect. We'll plan a story night, Sarah said, noting the excitement rushing through her veins. In that moment, she realized they could lean on each other, creating a bridge between yesterday's memories and tomorrow's dreams. As she moved through the diner, Jake joined her, his presence steadying. What is it about Mrs. Milner? He asked, a hint of curiosity in his voice. That wisdom, Sarah mused, it's south-rooted in this place. It makes me think, what else have we lost? Jake held her gaze, understanding the weight of her thoughts. We can't bring everything back, he reminded gently, but we can certainly make new memories. With renewed vigor, they set to work. The days blurred together as they crafted flyers for their first event. Each night overflowed with laughter and brainstorming, spinning dreams out of thin air. As they rolled out plans for a cook-off, a poetry night, and a family movie evening, the townsfolk began to filter in, offering ideas, excitement, and their unique talents. The laughter brightened the diner, and suddenly familiar faces that had long been hidden beneath layers of doubt began to surface. They weren't just patrons anymore, they were allies, ready to embrace something more significant than themselves. Weeks passed quickly, the air brimming with energy. But with every small victory, Sarah's heart carried an undercurrent of apprehension. Old tensions within the community were never far from the surface. She could feel it, hovering like a shadow. Skeptics whispered in groups, and lingering looks among longtime residents hinted at histories she hadn't yet touched. One afternoon, taking a break after a busy lunch rush, Sarah overheard a couple of voices just outside. "It's too ambitious. She doesn't understand what it means to run a real business." Her heart sank. She felt the weight of their judgment. Were they right? Did they see her as just a girl trying to play leader? "Sarah," Jake's voice cut through the haze of her spiraling thoughts. He leaned against the counter, his brow knit with concern. "You okay?" "Just, hearing doubts. Sometimes, it feels like I'm climbing a hill with everyone pulling me back." His eyes softened. "But you know what? Every time someone doubts, it's a chance to surprise them." He was right. A part of her knew she needed to rise up, to show them the beauty in their community spirit, to bounce back and roar louder. "Let us do this," she said with a fierceness she didn't entirely feel but wanted to project. "Let us mobilize for our cook-off. We'll show them the heart within these walls." But as plans shifted into motion, she couldn't shake the question that loomed so heavy it was almost suffocating: what if the very doubts she was trying to overcome became the very obstacles that tore her newfound unity apart? The cook-off was coming, and with it, the thrill of anticipation but also the echoing whispers of fear. Sarah knew it was time to confront not just the community's doubts, but her own as well. What would it take to turn their skepticism into belief? The day of the cook-off dawned bright and warm, sunlight streaming through the diner's windows, casting a golden glow on the familiar booths and checkered tables. Sarah stood at the entrance, taking a deep breath. Scents of fried chicken and apple pie wafted in from the kitchen, mingling with the anticipation and nervous energy buzzing within her. Jake was busy setting up the tables outside, hanging brightly colored banners that flapped in the light breeze. Each flutter felt like a heartbeat, a summoning of hope and excitement. "We're going to make this place come alive," he called out, his voice brightening her spirits. She loved that about him. His unwavering faith always seemed to penetrate her self-doubt. But as the minutes ticked away, so did her confidence. The doubts she had tried to banish returned, clawing at her insides. What if no one came? What if she had grossly misjudged the community's interest? The clock struck 1, and voices began to fill the diner. Friends and families, old and young, started arriving, laughter spilling into the air like a melody. She felt a shimmer of relief but couldn't ignore the skeptical looks from a few familiar faces, ones that lingered at the edges, arms crossed, their frowns telling a story of history and hesitation. "Keep pushing through, Sarah," she whispered to herself, steeling her resolve. "Welcome everyone," she said, gathering her courage as she stepped in front of the growing crowd. "We're so glad you're here for our first cook-off. Let us celebrate not just food, but each other." As she spoke, enthusiasm surged through her voice, and some of the mumbles transformed into nods of agreement. The competition kicked off. Dishes arrived in waves, every corner of the diner filled with aromas that danced through the space, tempting even the most skeptical diners. Sarah watched as families took part, smiles spreading on their faces, food igniting conversations she'd only dreamed of. The energy shifted. Laughter sliced through the tension she had felt before, but then she noticed something that twisted her heart. Mrs. Milner had yet to arrive. "I hope she remembers," Sarah thought anxiously. The old woman had seen the diner flourish, and her presence would be a reassurance that maybe all of this could be worthy. "We need you," Sarah murmured under her breath. As the competition drew to its peak, Sarah slipped behind the counter to gather her thoughts. The clock ticked insistently, and she felt that prickle of self-doubt bubbling up again. Then, the bell above the door jingled. Sarah turned, and there, at the entrance, was Mrs. Milner, eyes sparkling, wearing a bright pink hat perched atop a cascade of white hair. Beside her were a few eager children, each clasping a perfectly frosted cake. "Sorry for being late, dear. I had to make my granddaughter's signature dessert," Mrs. Milner called, her tone buoyant, as though she was announcing a victory. Sarah's heart swelled. The diner wasn't just a backdrop to their lives, it was a tapestry sewn of acceptance, love, and resilience. She felt not just hope, but a burning conviction that she was meant to lead this charge. But then, just as the excitement peaked, a commotion arose from the back. A familiar figure was arguing, the sound of raised voices cutting through the laughter. "This is ridiculous. Who thought it was a good idea? You'll ruin everything." The words pierced through the air, directed at her. Sarah's breath hitched. This was not what she had envisioned for today. Would these voices drown out everything good happening around them? She took a moment, gathering her thoughts, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on her, holding their breaths in anticipation. It was time to confront the doubts head-on, to not just defend her vision, but to show what their community truly stood for. "Maybe I don't have all the answers," Sarah began, her voice steady and clear, cutting through the murmur. "But this diner has seen us through laughter and tears. Let us remember that this space is ours, not just mine. You have the power to reshape it with me." As murmurs filled the room, she felt the challenge of turning those skeptical hearts into believing ones settle upon her shoulders. Could she really turn this moment into something even bigger? Would the doubts fade? The cook-off wasn't over yet, and neither was her fight. The air in the diner crackled with tension. Sarah's heart raced as she held her breath, looking around at the faces in front of her. Skepticism swirled, but so did curiosity. Could she transform this moment of doubt into a spark of unity? From the back, the opposing voice continued. "It's just a cook-off. You think this can change anything?" It was Walter, known for his harsh critiques and a heart that was quick to harden, but Sarah refused to let him dim the light that had ignited in her chest. "What if it can? This isn't just about food, Walter. It's about connection. Everything we do here matters. Together, we can bring this diner back to life." The crowd began to murmur amongst themselves, voices rising and shifting like waves. Some were nodding, others still looked uncertain. "Do you remember the last time we had a gathering like this?" Sarah pressed on, sensing the openings in their defenses. "The community potlucks? The laughter that brought us all closer. We can have that again if we let ourselves believe." Walter's gaze softened for just a moment, but it was like a fleeting shadow. "You can't just wave a magic wand, Sarah. This diner is in ruins. Most people have given up. And most people don't realize that they have the power to bring it back." She shot back, emboldened. "Every dish here represents a story, a memory, and every one of you has a piece of this diner in your heart. Let us rekindle that spirit." The chatter grew louder, a wave of voices blending together, and suddenly Jake stepped forward, his hands raised for attention. "You know what? Sarah's right. Look around. We have generations in this room, from kids to grandparents. Let us not just judge the past but embrace the present." He gestured to Mrs. Milner, who stood beside the children with her cakes, the pride gleaming in her eyes. "If someone like Mrs. Milner can share her recipes through her family, we can all share our stories, too. This diner belongs to each of us." The room responded with a ripple of applause that surged through the diner, breaking the dam of skepticism. Sarah felt warmth spread through her. Hope was alive, buzzing like the kitchen she could hear improving behind her. "Let us turn away from doubt," Sarah encouraged, feeling the energy shift in her favor. "Let us cook for each other, not just for competition. Let us have fun together, build our stories anew. This is our moment." With that, she saw some familiar faces, those once hesitant, nodding yes as they exchanged glances of agreement. The laughter returned, halting doubts and echoing harmoniously. As the noise swelled, Sarah realized she had somehow sparked something bigger than she had ever imagined. It was more than a cook-off, it was a reclamation of a community that had been frayed and forgotten. "All right, everyone." Jake boomed over the crowd. "Let's keep this good vibe rolling. Who's ready to dig into some delicious food?" He announced the separations for taste testing, and soon it became a whirlwind of flavors, laughter, and connection. Just moments before they'd been on the cusp of division, now plates were shared, conversation flowed, and smiles illuminated the room like rays of sunlight piercing clouds. Just when Sarah thought everything was finally coming together, she caught the tail end of a whisper in the crowd. "Just wait until you see what's coming next." It sent a chill down her spine, a reminder that not all battles were fought in the open. As she exchanged joyful looks with those around her, her heart still carried the weight of unease, the thought that not everyone was on board with this newfound unity. Could they truly silence the doubts floating in the air? What was about to come to light? Just then, the bell rang again, this time more forcefully, as a tall, unfamiliar figure lurked at the entrance. Sarah's breath caught. Who was this? What unexpected chapter was unfolding in her community's story now? The figure stepped into the diner, tall and imposing, casting a shadow across the vibrant crowd that had gathered. The laughter and chatter faded to a curious hush as all eyes turned towards the newcomer. Sarah's heart raced, every instinct telling her something significant was about to unfold. The stranger surveyed the room, his face unreadable. A moment later, he took a step forward, the floor creaking beneath his weight. With a deep breath, he began to speak, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "I'm sorry to interrupt, but I needed to come here today." Even Walter, known for his cynicism, looked intrigued. The atmosphere shifted, tension weaving through the air once more, but this time it was laced with anticipation. "I was part of this community once, years ago," the man continued, glancing around. "My name is Liam. I grew up in this diner, just like many of you. I haven't been back in over 20 years. A murmur rippled through the crowd. People exchanged glances, memories sparking in their minds. Sarah felt a pull in her chest, a mixture of memories and curiosity. "What brings you back, Liam?" Someone called out from the back, breaking the silence. He met Sarah's gaze, a fleeting connection that sent a shiver through her. "I heard you were trying to revive this place. I heard the stories of how it once was." His voice grew passionate. "And I realized I had to see it for myself. I had to come home." Home. The word hung in the air, heavy with meaning, resonating deep within each person present. For so long, the diner had been merely a place of food, but now it was transforming into a repository of memories, a sanctuary for lost connections. "Are you here to help us?" Jake stepped forward, his eyes bright with hope. "We need all the hands we can get." Liam nodded, taking a cautious step towards the center of the diner, which felt suddenly electrified with potential. "I have a plan," he said, enthusiasm gaining momentum. "I've seen how other small towns have turned things around. We can do it, too. But it's going to take all of us." As he spoke, Sarah noticed the sparkle in the eyes of the onlookers. Old resentment began to fade, and curiosity took its place, igniting interest among those who had held back. It was more than just about the diner, it resonated with something deeper, the desire for community, to belong, to change, but in the back of Sarah's mind, a nagging question lingered. What did Liam know? Why had he really come back after so long? A surge of protectiveness washed over her. They had only just started to rebuild, and this stranger felt like an unknown variable that might threaten their fragile unity. "Wait," she interjected, stepping forward with resolve. "What else is there? What's really driving you to return now after all this time?" The room stilled, the gaze of every person shifting between Sarah and Liam, a palpable tension rising as they awaited his response. And for the first time, vulnerability flickered across Liam's face, a depth to his demeanor that drew Sarah in. "I came back to make amends. I owe this place more than I can express. There are stories I need to share, and truths that must be uncovered. You have no idea what I've buried." As his words sunk in, a whirlwind of possibilities raced through Sarah's mind. The diner was full of people ready to connect, yet what secrets might Liam unearth that could change everything? Just then, the dim light flickered, drawing everyone's attention to a shadow near the window. But it wasn't another stranger. It was a figure Sarah recognized but hadn't expected to see here. What would unfold next in this intricate web of connections? The figure stepped closer, illuminated briefly by the flickering light. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she processed the familiar face. It was Emma, her childhood friend, the one person she'd lost touch with after that fateful summer. The summer life had twisted their paths in separate directions. Was this a coincidence, or had Emma come searching for answers too? Emma glanced around, her expression a mix of surprise and trepidation. The aura shifted again as the realization spread through the diner. "I didn't mean to barge in like this," she started, her voice barely breaking through the whispers building like a swell of ocean waves, rising and crashing against the diner walls. "Emma!" Sarah called, her heart pounding. The years melted away at the sight of her. "What are you doing here?" I heard about the revival of the diner," Emma replied, having broken through the spell of uncertainty that surrounded her. "I felt like it was time to come back. I have some things I need to say." Her words hung in the air like an unspoken promise. Sarah felt the weight behind them. Those things could change everything. Was Emma here to share the regrets that had haunted them since childhood, or was it something deeper, rooted in their shared past? Liam's eyes darted between the two women, sensing the tension. "This is a reunion," he declared, trying to ease the air thick with unspoken words. "Maybe it's fate that brings us all together." But Sarah couldn't shake the nerves tightening in her stomach. She remembered the last time she spoke to Emma. The argument that had sent them spiraling apart came rushing back. "You, too?" she whispered, confusion painting her features. Emma nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I never meant for things to end the way they did, Sarah. I was scared. And I left. You know that." The diner buzzed with hushed conversations as Sarah stood frozen, caught between the rawness of their shared history and the moment they were all being urged to embrace. Liam's intent look drove home the growing realization the diner was more than a physical space, it was a mirror reflecting their lives, their choices, and now, their chance at redemption. "Can we talk?" Sarah finally managed, her voice softer, but thick with emotion. "Right now?" "I won't run away this time," Emma said, a hint of determination emerging. "I promise." But before Sarah could reply, Walter interrupted, breaking the delicate tension in the room. "Hey! What about the plan, Liam? We can't just get sidetracked by past drama." His outburst created a shift, an odd blend of humor cushioning the heaviness that hung like thick fog. Liam remained unfazed. "It's all connected, Walter. This is about rebuilding together. Sometimes we need to face our pasts to create the future we want." His words resonated, igniting a flicker of hope among all those who hadn't thought of revisiting their unresolved sentiments. Sarah felt that flicker grow inside her, battling against the fear held tight in her chest. She glanced at Emma, who seemed equally ready to confront what lay ahead, their eyes brimming with the possibility and uncertainty of rekindling something broken. "Okay, let us share our stories, our truths," Sarah suggested, her resolve strengthening with each passing heartbeat. But in the dim light, on the edge of the diner, stood someone else, a man with an expression that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. He seemed to loom ominously, his presence stirring within her a presentiment of doom. It was as if he knew something they didn't, a piece of their intertwined destinies waiting to be revealed. What happened next would either force their connections to deepen or unravel everything they had just begun to knit back together. In that moment of palpable tension, one thought loomed large: was fated reconciliation truly possible when buried secrets resurfaced? The man lingered just beyond the flickering glow of the neon sign, his figure shrouded in a haze of uncertainty. Sarah's heart raced. Who was he? And why did his gaze send goosebumps crawling across her skin? She felt the air thicken around her, filled with an unspoken warning. "Sarah? You okay?" Liam's voice cut through her thoughts. She tore her gaze away from the stranger and turned to face him, forcing a hasty nod. "Yeah, just a lot happening," she mumbled, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. "Let's maybe just take a deep breath," Liam suggested, his warm eyes searching hers. The weight of his concern provided a small comfort. Yet, that ominous presence still loomed, flickering at the edges, a factory whistle in the night. Emma cleared her throat, her voice trembling slightly. "I really do want to talk, Sarah. It feels like we've been carrying this weight for so long." "Right," Sarah said, glancing back at Emma. "Why don't we sit down?" The three of them settled into a booth, yet the stranger's presence remained. He was still watching, leaning against the wall, arms crossed. It felt like he was a shadow compounding their shared moment, an uninvited guest steeped in mystery. With a deep breath, Emma began, her words tumbling out like raindrops spilling from a teacup. "That summer things went downhill fast, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Losing touch with you felt like losing a part of myself. I should have reached out." Sarah's chest tightened as Emma spoke, those memories rising like ghosts in the air. "I felt abandoned," Sarah admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I needed you, and you just left. I was left wondering if I was the problem." "I know," Emma said, her voice breaking. "It wasn't you. It was me. I was scared of everything, of what we were becoming. I didn't know how to grow up." The sincerity in Emma's eyes brought a tear to Sarah's eye. "I didn't either," she confessed, feeling the years of hurt gushing forth. The dam that had held their pain apart was starting to crack, revealing a flood of emotions. Liam leaned in, his presence encouraging yet grounding. "It's so easy to let fear dictate our choices, isn't it?" He emanated a warmth that made the booth feel a little less confining. Walter popped into the conversation, trying to lighten the mood. "A side of fries with that emotional roller coaster?" "I'll take the special," he quipped, a lopsided grin breaking the tension. The laughter that followed was tentative but genuine. It felt like a small shift, a bridge being built over past wounds. Yet underneath it all, the stranger's eyes never left them. Sarah caught a glimpse of Emma's worried expression, and a ripple of doubt surged. "But what if we're not ready to face all of our truths?" "What do you mean?" Emma asked, her brows knitting together. Before Sarah could respond, a chilling presence crept closer as the man stepped into the light, his hardened expression shifting with unexpected recognition. "Sarah, Emma," he said, voice gravelly. "I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but it sounds like you have a lot on your minds." The diner fell silent, the joviality stripped away like paint from an old wall. The man's eyes were dark, and the tension thickened again like evening fog. "Who are you?" Emma asked, her voice steady but shaken. A pause enveloped the room, thickening the air. "I'm someone who knows more about your past than you realize." His words sent an electric shock through Sarah. What secrets was he holding? Suddenly, the weight of their unspoken truths hung heavier in the air. Would they be forced to confront not only their reconciled friendship but uncharted territories they never imagined would come into play? What more awaited them in the shadows behind their heartfelt discussions, and would they be ready to face even the dark threads in their tapestry of history? The man stepped closer, the neon lights now illuminating his face. Sarah felt her breath hitch, a flash of recognition jolting her. But she couldn't place him. "Stay away from us," Emma snapped, her protective instinct flaring. Sarah admired her strength but felt a pull to understand his presence. "Listen," the man began, holding up his hands in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to talk. I think it's important." "Important for who?" Liam interjected, his eyes narrowing. "What do you want from us?" The man's gaze darted between the three of them, the edge curling in his lips suggesting he found the tension almost comical. "I understand why you'd be cautious. But you need to hear me out. There is something you don't know about your past, about that summer." What could you possibly know? Sarah's voice trembled with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Who are you? Names don't matter, he replied. What I have to tell you could change everything. A chill swept through the booth, causing Sarah to shiver. The light-hearted atmosphere had vanished, replaced by a heaviness that clung to the walls. Memories, long buried, began to resurrect the secrets, the silences, the unspoken heartaches. Emma leaned closer, crossing her arms defensively. What are you implying? We faced our problems. We're here to sort them out. The stranger stepped even closer, lowering his voice. What if I told you that someone you loved didn't disappear by choice? They've been waiting for the right moment to come back into your lives. Sarah's heart thudded painfully against her ribcage. What do you mean? Silence reigned as the words hung between them like a tightrope, dangerous, delicate. Your family, Sarah. His eyes softened. Things aren't what they seem. There's a truth you both have forgotten, it's buried deep in the ashes of that summer, and now it's coming back to haunt you. Liam looked to Sarah, trying to gauge her reaction. What is he talking about? I don't know, she stammered, feeling the walls close in. Everything around them faded, the clatter of dishes, the hushed murmurs of other diners. It was only the four of them now, sealed in this moment. Your mother, he continued, watching her closely, she didn't just leave you. There was a reason. Tears threatened to well up in Sarah's eyes. A part of her wanted to crumble, to turn away from whatever revelation loomed ahead. No, I can't. She chose to go. Did you ever ask why? His voice was steady but edged with urgency. The truth will shatter your world, but not knowing might hurt even more. Emma shook her head, her resolve beginning to waver. What do you want from us? Why should we believe you? Because, he sighed slowly, your friendship, your family, they're worth the fight. You all have a chance to heal, to reclaim what was lost. Sarah felt a rush of anger and sorrow hit her like a tidal wave. Could it be true? Could one man bring back the flickers of hope that had faded into the darkness? Think about it, he added, voice dropping to a whisper. Choices were made, but there's still time to change the narrative. As she struggled with the possibilities unfolding before her, a flicker of longing battled against her instincts to guard her heart. Will you listen? The stranger asked, the intensity of his gaze pinning her in place. But in that moment, another memory clawed its way through the fog. Turning around too fast might lead us back to our worst fears, Sarah murmured, her heart racing as she tried to wrap her mind around it all. In her gut, she knew that the next few moments could alter their lives forever. Would she summon the courage to dive into this murky truth, knowing it could change everything? Then let us hear it, she finally whispered, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. As they settled in for the revelation, an eerie silence enveloped them again, and shadows loomed just a little closer. What exactly awaited them in the tangled web of secrets and their once cherished memories? As the tension in the diner hung like a thick fog, Sarah's heartbeat thudded in her ears. She locked eyes with the stranger, uncertainty swirling around her. What do you know about my mother? Her voice trembled, a mix of trepidation and determination. The man's expression softened. It's complicated, but she has been looking for you. She never wanted to leave, Sarah. There were things forcing her hand, painful choices that turned into regrets. Shock rippled through Sarah. Questions tumbled like leaves in a whirlwind. Why didn't she return? Why didn't anyone tell me? Anguish ripped through her, and her voice rose, echoing in the now silent room. Liam stepped closer, trying to lend support. Let him explain, he urged, his voice steady and calm. Nodding, Sarah inhaled deeply, urging herself to listen. Tell me. The man cleared his throat. There were threats, things that couldn't be resolved without putting you in danger. She believed leaving was the only way to protect you, both of you. Both of us? Emma echoed, her tone a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. What do you mean? There's another layer to this? Your family is intertwined with a past that runs deeper than this diner. It has roots in this community. He gestured around them, as if the very walls held the weight of their stories. But while the truth lingers, it can also set you free. At that moment, everything fell into place: the diner, their friendships, the longing for connection. But still, Sarah felt the shadows of heartbreak lurking nearby. "I always thought it was just choice," she whispered, "that she didn't care." The man shook his head. "It was never about that. You're not alone in this pain, Sarah. Families are more than blood, they're history, choices, and sometimes chaos. But if you let the past rule you, it will bury your future." The air crackled with emotion. In that moment of realization, Sarah felt something shift within. The walls of grief she had built around her heart began to crack. "So, you're saying I might be able to find her? Only if you're ready to face what she went through and confront the ghosts that linger here." He gestured to the diner, the shared laughter and stories echoing against their past. "You must face both the love and pain." Sarah's gaze traveled to Emma. "Do you think we're ready?" Emma's expression mirrored her own turmoil. "I don't know, but if there's any hope to find closure or even answers, we must try." In that moment, Sarah's heart swelled with warmth. After years of questioning, the possibility of mending the broken threads of family began to twinkle like stars just out of reach. Somehow, they stood at the threshold of something greater. As the man turned to leave, he offered a final note. "Life is messy, but you have the chance to reshape it. Reconnect here. Seek her out. No matter how difficult, together you can embrace the truth." With those words hanging heavily in the air, Sarah felt a sense of determination surge within her. She turned to Jake, and his encouragement glowed through the uncertainty. "Let's do this, Sarah. Whatever it takes, I'm with you." And in that moment, under the flickering light of the diner that held their past woven into its fabric, they all realized, family, community, and love could emerge from the ashes if only they were willing to confront the past. The atmosphere shifted again, a revitalization blooming across the room as everyone held hope in their hearts. Walter's voice cut through the tension. "Then let us celebrate. Not just food, but unity. Whatever it takes, we're in this together." Sarah nodded, feeling an electric excitement reverberate through her. They could rewrite the narrative. Tightly bound together, they could face the shadows that had haunted them for too long. "I promise," Sarah declared, eyes glistening. "Whatever happens next, we'll do it as a community. We'll bring each other back to life." Cheers erupted in the diner, laughter sprinkled with hope chasing away the uncertainties. As the sun dipped below the horizon, hues of pink and gold streaked through the window, illuminating a new chapter in their story. In that moment, Sarah felt free, ready to embrace whatever journey lay ahead. Together, they would reclaim their dreams: love, family, and a community that was rising from the ashes. Now, it's time for you to be part of this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.